Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters and the International Mandela Effect Conference, and you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Rippin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello. Hello.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is your man Meta,
aka Propagate This Light. And you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, December 16th, 2020, and tonight we're going to talk about the gods of Christmas. That's right. We all know the story of Jesus Christ and the birth of Jesus, but is that the first time that story's been told, or is it just the latest? We're going to discuss all that and more tonight, Wednesday, December 16th, 2020, on the DarkWolf's Den Show. But first, today in history. I'm really starting to run out of these holiday today in histories. They're getting harder and harder to find. On this day in 1979, An American Christmas Carol directed by Eric Till, starring Henry Winkler, premieres in the USA. That was on this day in 1979. And that is today's Today in History. An American Christmas Carol starring Henry Winkler. Who all out there has ever heard of that movie? I know I haven't. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you've seen that movie before. Put a 2 in the chat room if you've never seen the movie before, and go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you've never even heard of it before. Because like I said, that's a new one on me. I gotta say, I'm a 3 on that one. I'm gonna have to look that up to watch for Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, let's play a game really quick, guys. I got a real quick game you might enjoy. So I want you to tell me who I am naming, alright? Or what character, I guess you'd say, I am referencing here. So this character was born in a miraculous birth to a virgin nonetheless on December 25th and has become a deity. How many of you out there automatically said, Jesus Christ, it's Jesus? Actually, it was Horus. That's who I was referencing. So let's try this again. I'm thinking of a deity that was miraculously birthed to a virgin on December 25th. Sorry, I'm actually talking about Krishna that time. And there's actually a whole list of deities across the world that were born on December 25th. You've got Buddha, Zarathustra, Hercules, Mithra, Hermes, Thammuz, Adonis, and of course we know the Jesus Christ. So clearly this is not the first time the story of the miraculous 25th of December birth has come around. And when we find these stories across a multitude of cultures, we cannot help but wonder if there's just a little more to the story than what we're being told, right? Now, when I say across a multitude of cultures, let's go over these here. Jesus is considered a Roman god, Adonis considered a Phoenician god, Hermes a Greek god, Thammuz a Babylonian god, Dionysus a Greek god, Mithra a Greek god, Hercules a Greek god, Zarathustra an Iranian god, Krishna an Indian god, Buddha a Nepal god, Horus an Ethiopian and Egyptian god. I'm sorry, Mithra was a Persian god, if I messed that up a moment ago. But anyway, the point is, all across the world, all of these different cultures have the same story of this deity being born to a virgin, a miraculous birth on December 25th. So there might be a little more to the story than just the base story, right? Well, yes, exactly right. And it all comes back to the Son of God, or as we call it, the Son. Which brings us to our speaker tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Jordan Maxwell.
Now, as we begin the story of the sun and the ancient religions of the world and how much the sun has dominated civilization for as long as we have records, we need to go back to the very beginning, and that's a long time ago. Let's go back to Egypt. We'll start in Egypt because that's one of the oldest civilizations on the earth.
And as we know, at least one of our deities from the list earlier was from Egypt, and that was, of course, Horus.
And we will see how Egypt developed the concept of the importance of the sun in relation to theology and spirituality and religion.
The sun, we're going to find, has a whole lot more importance than you ever thought it did in all three: spirituality, religion, and theology.
Now, this is an ancient symbol for the sun, prehistoric, that the ancient peoples drew to represent the sun. It's an equal arm cross within the circle. Here is an artifact that was found in England at Stonehenge. It's on a golden circle, which represents the sun, and then you'll see the cross in between, and this is about 4,500 years old.
And what is intriguing is that if you've ever looked into cymatics, or the study of sound and sound waves, there is this experiment that is done with sand on a metal plate, and if you play the ohm frequency, you can actually see this perfect circle with the equal arm cross right in the middle of the frequency.
Almost 5,000 years ago, ancient mankind drew pictures of what they perceived the sun to be as an equal arm cross. And you will see it also in the ancient religions of the Near and Middle East, the different ancient gods in the Phoenician, Canaanite, Sumerian systems. They all had the equal arm cross. But it's important to remember that the sun was never perceived as a god.
And for this show tonight especially, that is an extremely important distinction to make, is that the sun was never seen as a god.
It was perceived to represent the spiritual qualities of God, in that it brought life to the earth, it brought warmth to the earth, it brought energy for us to live. So all of the good things about God and His creation was best represented by the symbol of the sun.
And of course, we hear that in the Bible quite a bit, God's loving warmth, and that He's made of pure light, right?
Sometimes the sun actually even looks like it has an equal arm cross in the heavens. You will find the equal arm cross all over the world. Every race and creed and color has the same symbol for the ancient sun.
And as we found on this show many, many times, when all the cultures across the world have the exact same thing, there's usually a reason for it.
The Nordics had the symbol, the Vikings kept the symbol, ancient France used the symbol. The symbol was on rocks and carvings and paintings. Even in India, you have the equal arm cross. The Celtic and the Celtic Druids in Europe and England and Ireland had an equal arm cross. Native Americans used it, Central America, and especially in Mayan and Inca and some of the ancient religions in South America have used the equal arm cross.
So this is something that has literally been used on every corner of the planet, in every culture. Every single one of them made the exact same symbol, albeit a very simple symbol, but just the same one that they all used regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or anything else.
But this symbol of an equal arm cross within the circle represents an old ancient idea of how to picture the sun. And it's really extraordinary to notice that all churches use that same symbol. And all over the world, people do not realize that this cross that they think represents Christianity is actually over 5,000 years old. It's an ancient, prehistoric symbol of the sun.
And of course, in the Bible, we always hear about Jesus carrying the cross, right, Jordan? So how does that connect?
Jesus has always represented the sun, the S-U-N, not S-O-N. The etymology of the word for the sun. You see that sun can be S-U-N or S-O-N, and depending on how it's used. S-O-N and S-U-N are used interchangeably in Christianity.
Now, I want to be clear, like I've said in previous episodes, I fully believe Jesus was a man that did walk the earth. Not a problem in my mind with that, not a question, not even a little bit. So, I would consider this myself, any way that this would make sense to me is after Jesus becomes deified. And we'll find out a lot about that in the second half, but just know that it's not saying, at least I'm not saying, he might be, but I'm not saying that Jesus did not exist in the Bible or wasn't a real person. I fully believe that he was. However, in deity form, or when he became deified, his representation became that of the Son of God, or the S-U-N of God.
Today we still have Jesus as God's Son in the heavens, and he became now a great sun god. But the question you need to ask yourself is, who owns the sun?
And to get the right answers, you got to ask the right questions, huh? I got to say, Jordan, you have me intrigued. Who owns the sun, my friend? I would have never even thought to ask that question.
We assume that the sun must be owned by someone. Well, mankind doesn't own the sun. If anything, you would say maybe God owns the sun. So if God owns the sun, then it's God's son, and he's the light of the world. Of course the sun is the light of the world.
And over time, as mankind's belief systems evolved and the belief systems of the sun evolved, it became more venerated, even more venerated to the point that it became a religion of its own, and people actually started worshiping the sun itself.
Religion dating back thousands of years before the Roman Empire. But in Rome, the sun god was called Mithra. Mithraism was the main religion in the Roman Empire at the time that Christianity was coming into play in the Roman Empire. Emperor Constantine was a follower of Mithra, and Mithra was...
And as you guys may remember, Mithra was on our list earlier, and his story might actually sound kind of familiar.
God's son who died on a cross. He was dead for 3 days and rose again. Emperor Constantine was famous.
And in the second half, that will become very, very important. So remember that part, as if we haven't heard it, most of our lives if we study Christianity. But the part where they die on the cross, are dead for 3 days, and rise again, that will become more and more important as we go on through this episode.
Starting the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church was not started by Jesus. It was started by a Roman emperor. And it was headquarters in Rome, not the heaven. It was mixing Judaism and Mithraism and some of the other religions of the Arabic world that also worship the sun, and brought all of these different religions together in order to confirm the power of Caesar in Rome under one religion and one government. It was actually a world government, supposedly, at the time.
So the Roman Catholic Church was built out of sun worship. Now, that is interesting, but remember, they aren't the only culture to have worshipped the sun.
This is a Sumerian picturing the sun on the altar. In the ancient world, the Phoenician, Canaanites, Sumerians, the Hittites, all of these ancient cultures always had helmets. Their military wore helmets with the rising sun symbol. The rising sun symbol is still used even today around the world on helmets and military.
And for those who may not know what he is referencing, if you think of a Roman or a Greek helmet and that kind of broom thing that they used to have on it, well, that actually is supposed to represent the sun, I guess. This broom or this yellow band that they would have across it kind of reminded me of a chicken. I'm going to be honest with you. Not to say, not to say they were chicken by any means. I'm just saying that look, the helmet reminded me of a chicken. But the point is that symbol that they wore on their head on the helmets, that wasn't just to brush away the dirt. It was actually a symbol of the sun.
Here in Rome, you'll see the Romans wearing the rising sun. Again, you will see it here where the Romans, they were brutal rulers of the people, but their symbol was the rising sun. And so now let's look at the sun worship today and its ancient foundation, which was the cult of Solas Invictus.
And this goes back to, I believe it was 287 A.D.
Solas Invictus is Sol, which is the sun, and invincible. The sun was said by the Romans, it was invincible. Why was the sun invincible? Because every year it came into its power in the summer, and then it would die in the winter to the northern hemisphere. But it would come back. Every year it would come back to the northern hemisphere. So it may die in the winter, but it's coming back. It's invincible. You can't keep it down. And so we see today the pictures of Sol, and he's the sun riding across the sky. The sun was pictured in Rome as riding on a chariot across heaven.
And as we know, that was also one of the stories of the ancient Egyptian myths, was that one of the gods carried the sun across the heavens in a chariot.
And so the sun was that lucky old sun riding around heaven all day, roaming around heaven all day, obviously on a chariot. And here is Solas Invicti, or this is a picture of Mithra, and it shows the sun spokes, the sun rays around his head, the sun god of Rome.
Now, where have I seen the picture of a person with the rays coming out from behind their head, the sun rays? Where have I seen that before? Oh, I know, the Christian churches. That's a really famous painting of Jesus, right? With the sun rays from behind him coming out and glaring with the oh. Yeah, that's where I know that picture from.
Now, in the doctoral theses, there's a very important book called The Cult of Solas Invictus. And in it shows you all of the connections with the Roman government, the Roman religion, the Roman commerce. The entire state of Rome and the ancient Roman Empire was all based on the sun. And you see, like the sun cult, up to the 1st century of the empire, the political background of it, the establishment of the cult of Solas Invicti, the dogma, the teachings of the ancient religion. Solas Invictus is the true Roman sun god. Of course, the Roman sun worship can be traced back to the ancient Egyptian sun god Amun-Ra.
As we spoke of a moment ago, Horus being one of the Egyptian gods, but Amun-Ra, of course, being the sun god in Egypt also, right?
So Amun-Ra was, we use the word today, R-A-Y, ray, sun ray. But the ancient Egyptians called their god Ra. That's where Ra comes from. So it was called the cult of Ra, or the cult of the sun ray. And so here is Amun-Ra, the official name of the sun god in Egypt. Amun-Ra, A-M-E-N -R-A. Here's Amun-Ra again. Now, when you see Amun-Ra, the Egyptian sun god was the supreme god of the universe, as said by the Egyptians. But what is important to remember is that Amun-Ra, today, in our supposed modern day world, in our Christian church, both Catholic and Protestant, they refuse to give up the old pagan sun cult of Amun-Ra.
every time any Christian says a prayer, all of them usually at the end will say one word, right? Whether it's in a group or it's by yourself, what is the one word you always end a prayer with? Go ahead, put it in the chat. What is that one word that you always say, the last word at the very end of the prayer?
And so today, this is why when you pray to God, you end up by saying amen, because you're sending your prayer through God's Son, Amun Re.
Amun, or amen.
The Catholic Church is replete with all kinds of sun symbols. You'll always see the Pope wearing large sun symbols. It's on his hand, it's on his gloves, it's on the outside of churches, it's at the top of churches also, implying the sun is risen, and the sun rays are dominating the Catholic Church all over the world. So here's paintings on the wall of the Vatican showing the angels, showing the worker, the common man, the worker, to look to the sun for his food and for his life and for everything. God's Son is the light of the world. And so Catholic Church or the Vatican is promoting sun worship. Everywhere the Catholic Church and Christians meet, you will see the sun.
But as we know, Christians aren't the only religion, and it's definitely not the only religion to have been touched by sun worship.
The sun in India and the Hindu worship of the sun. Now here we have the Inca priest kneeling on an altar and offering up the wine in the altar to the sun god. The same you will see in Japan, you'll see in England. They're singing praises in a hymn to the rising sun.
You know, it kind of reminds me a lot of Stonehenge, and in the fact that these different monuments across the world, all these different structures, what they call the calendar monuments or calendar stones, are always set up in such a way that at the winter and the summer solstices, the sun shines directly through a specific blocker, through a specific hole in a window, or something very, very specific about these alignments of the sun and the earth on these certain days. And as we're going to find out in the second half, there's even more to it than that. But we're going to go ahead and take a network break right here, and we'll be back with second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show and more on the gods of the 25th here in just a moment, right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Happy holidays, everyone. Your weekend has officially begun, thanks to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den. If you're enjoying tonight's look at the gods of Christmas, please make sure, if you haven't done so already, to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. If you have not done so already, I encourage you to jump on over to rippinrabbithole.com and hop on our mail list, and we'll send you out our weekend schedule every Wednesday morning. It'll share with you direct to your inbox a look at the weekend rabbit holes ahead. Speaking of which, Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Show returns again tomorrow night, Thursday, December 17th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as he howls at Christmas miracles. Explore with him the joyous and often emotional Christmas miracles, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then I'll return with the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show Friday night with Handmade Christmas tales and clever ideas of creativity. Join me Friday, December 18th, and find out how you can celebrate Christmas on a budget, but still be that one person that gives the greatest gifts ever. Then Saturday night, the annual White Elephant Christmas Show and Rippin' Rabbit's Holiday Party. Join in the fun Saturday, December 19th. starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we play the White Elephant game, Rippin' Rabbit Hole style, and celebrate our holiday party. If you have not submitted your wish, please do so before Sunday night, because Sunday, December 20th, is Wish Upon a Star. Make a wish upon a star with us as we get ready to head into the holiday with a special guest appearance from the jolly old man in the red suit. That's right, Santa Claus will be here Sunday, December 20th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's a look at your weekend ahead. I'm AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Now back to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Show with the Gods of Christmas, right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us tonight, we are talking about the Christmas gods, or the gods of the 25th, and how it is related to sun worship and the sun gods and solar deities. And in the second half, we're going to hear the greatest story never told. And in the first half, as you guys know, we started out talking about a list of the different gods who all have the same things in common, right? They were born to a virgin, born on the 25th. Well, actually, we're going to dig just a little bit further into that now, and we've come full circle already in our episode. But it is important for us to understand this and just how important this is.
Here we have 37 of what we call sons of God from the ancient world to the modern. And they all have the same identity and the same stories that go with their lives. They were born of a virgin, they died on a cross, they were dead for 3 days and then was resurrected and came back. Their father was a carpenter, and they had 12, almost all of these had 12 followers or 12 apostles. They had the same story that we have in Christianity 37 times over. So it's a continuation of the same story coming out of the ancient world, and today we call it Catholicism or Christianity.
And I told you in the first half the 3 days and then the resurrection would be very important in this half of the show, and we will get to that very shortly.
Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they're writing about their Savior, the Son. Because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is spring, summer, autumn, winter. The 4 seasons are symbolically represented by 4 Gospels. This is a very important book showing that the sun in the church today, cathedrals are solar observatories. Now, of course, in India, the most important sun god in India was Krishna.
And if you remember back in the first part of the show, Krishna was one of the deities on the December 25th list.
We know that the Jesuits, when they went into India back in the 1500s, they learned very quickly the whole religion of God's Son, the light of the world in India, who was Krishna. And they came back and infiltrated those teachings and concepts into what we call Christianity. This is the work of the church borrowing the stories from the ancient world of sun gods who died on the cross.
And of course, this is nothing new to Christianity. We know the story of the flood comes from the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, for instance, and there's no telling how many other stories have been borrowed from other cultures. But what is the significance of dying on a cross being dead for 3 days, and being resurrected again. Because clearly every one of these deities have had this part of the story in common too. Well, there's actually a really good reason for that, and I've been teasing it the whole episode, but this is the main reason why there is a Christmas, if you will. This is why well, let me rephrase that. This is why Christmas was set on the 25th. This is why Jesus' birthday was set on the 25th. This is why we celebrate Christmas being Jesus' birthday on the 25th, as well as the rest of the deities or gods that were born supposedly on the 25th. Check this out.
As in the southern constellation, when you go down south, when the sun reaches the lowest part in the sky in southern hemisphere, there is a constellation of stars that look just exactly like a cross. And so we say the sun, when it dies in December, it goes down and dies on the cross. The cross is called the Southern Cross.
Also known as the constellation of Cygnus.
When he was dead, but now he's coming back to the northern hemisphere because he promised he would return. And he is returning again in the spring.
Okay, so now we know why the sun dies on the cross, because the sun enters the constellation of Cygnus, the Southern Cross.
Solar symbolism of the sun going southward each day until it finally reaches December 22nd. When it's its lowest point in the southern sky, it's down south now. It's gone south. But on December 22nd, the sun goes as far in the south as it's going to go, and it stops going southward on December 22nd.
Not only is it at its furthest position in the south, it actually also does not move for a couple days.
Then on the 23rd and 24th, it rises on the same degree. And therefore, for 3 days, it doesn't move at all, stays in that same degree. So we say, and the ancient people said, that Jesus, or God's Son, died for 3 days. Why? Because it was moving every day, and now it's not moving for 3 days.
So not only is the sun in the Cygnus constellation on the cross, but it has now died. It is not moving at all for 3 days. It appears to have died.
So for 3 days, the sun was dead, and on December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree northward, which indicates, even the United States Navy will show you on their instruments, that it indicates the sun is now alive again. He's born again. Now he's going to work his way back to the northern hemisphere.
So after the 3rd day on the cross, and he has died for 3 days and not moved, all of a sudden he's moving again. The sun is moving again and is resurrected, if you will, and coming back to life, or heading back to the north.
Because he said, God's Son said, I will return. Well, he does. He returns every year. So what do you see? Do you see a man on this cross? Do you see a man dying on the cross? No. This is what is actually meant by dying on the cross. It's the sun.
And I know some of you are saying, wait a minute, we celebrate the birth of Jesus at Christmas. Actually, if you look into theology, and I think I mentioned this in the first half, most theologians will tell you that Jesus was most likely born closer to Easter in April in the spring season, and actually died on the cross closer to Christmas time, or what we would consider Christmas time.
During the summer, when the sun is in the northern hemisphere, it is in the constellation of Leo, so he is the lion of the tribe of Judah. And then when he dies in Capricorn, down south when he goes south. And so now he dies in the winter. And then he comes back and springs back to life. And when he comes back to the northern hemisphere, we call it spring.
And of course, in the spring is when we actually celebrate the resurrection and death of Christ on the cross, even though it should be closer to, as we're hearing now, December 25th, when the symbolism actually exists and what all the other deities were actually represented as being also, and that is the travel of the sun across the sky.
But when it crosses the equator, the sun will have to cross the equator coming back to us in the north. When it crosses the equator, it is said to have passed over the equator.
You know, that sounds suspiciously like a Jewish tradition in the Bible.
So in the Hebrew religion, when the sun passes over the coming back to the northern hemisphere, they call that celebration the Passover.
That's it, the Passover. I knew it sounded familiar.
But for Christians, they're worshiping the sun also as it passes over, but they refer to it as the resurrection. God's Son has been resurrected. He's come back.
So it all goes back to sun worship. It began with sun worship, worshiping the sun. The sun became symbolized as a round disc with a cross in the middle, an even-armed cross, as he put it. And then, of course, we see in Egypt also the winged sun disk, right? And all these different versions of the disk, the sun disk, across all of these different cultures. And as we mentioned earlier, we've got the calendar stones and all these different ancient monuments that were all built to venerate the sun, especially on the winter and summer solstices. And that's what a lot of cultures would look at, is the solstices, and they would actually build their gods on them if the gods weren't actually real walking deities, which that is still up for a lot of debate. But for the sake of this conversation, the gods were actually venerated because they were considered to be the sun, or at least the qualities of the Son of God. The Son that belongs to God, not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N. And of course it went all the way into sun cults and sun worship. And today it is amazing when you look around and see that sun worship is in full swing, whether it's in logos or churches. You ever notice in a church you got the great big round window way up in the top of the church, right? You ever wondered why it's a perfect circle of a window? Well, of course, it's the representation of the sun, right? And usually it's got a picture of Jesus right on it. It's in your face, as blatant as can be, but unless you actually take time to do the research and learn and understand what these things mean, you'll never really quite grasp the fact that what it all boils down to is the veneration of the sun that gives us life. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think that it is just a bunch of solar worship, a bunch of sun gods, a bunch of craziness? Or perhaps, do you think that it might be a little bit to it? Do you think that everything we are celebrating, all the different gods that were born on the 25th, that were born to a virgin whose father was a carpenter, and they had the disciples and died on a cross and resurrected 3 days later, do you think it is all just symbolic sun symbology and solar system symbology? Or do you think it could be that we're shining the light in the wrong place and we are completely in the dark? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, I would like to talk to you guys for a minute. I have recently been releasing some Mandela Effect content on the channel, and there's going to be stories coming out on the channel. What I've done is I've taken all the stories from the Christmas Stories episode and I'm releasing them as standalone videos. So if you're interested in those stories, guys, definitely go back and share those around and make sure you bookmark those or put those in your saved or playlist or however they do it here on YouTube, and make sure that you can access them. I just want to let you guys know that those are coming. And this holiday season, there's a lot going on, guys. There's a lot going on around us. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in general. A lot of hatred has been going around lately. A lot of disgust, a lot of disagreement. And though I don't disagree that the disagreement and the discussion is needed, I would ask that at least for a little while, can we go ahead and enjoy Christmas? Nothing going on outside in the world is going to be settled before Christmas is over. So for just a little while, can we please start to remember that we are all still human? We are all still one world family. We're all still people. We all need to respect and enjoy each other's company during this time. We've had a very rough year. We've had a year where people have been trying to make sure we don't hang out with each other, we don't see each other. It's been a very isolated year. And it's in these years that we find a lot of people that are struggling, especially emotionally. And it is nice for us to just get together and remember that we're not black, we're not white, we're not red, we're not Republican, we're not Democrat. We're not any of these things, ladies and gentlemen. We're not American and British and German. We are human. We are all human. And we are all celebrating an incredibly magical holiday. A holiday that really kind of makes everything just a little bit better, at least for a little while. So this Christmas season, I would dare you and challenge you to reach out to those that you normally wouldn't reach out to. Reach out to those that you disagree with. Don't discuss the topics you disagree about, obviously, but try to just reach out on a human level and really just get to know people again. Reach out and break this isolation that we've been forced into in 2020, because there's nothing worse than being alone, especially being alone during the holidays. And if you are alone during the holidays, and if you are dealing with something like seasonal depression, I urge you, please look into help if you haven't already. There are many, many people that are very skilled in helping with things like that. I'm not one of those people, but I do beg of you, if you are dealing with seasonal depression, please don't do anything that the world will later regret. We need everybody here. We need our world family. We need our DarkWolf's Den family. We need our Rippin' Rabbit family. We need all of you, and we need each other. And we can't do anything in this world without anybody else to help us. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure you can reach out, if you can, to the elderly, to those that you know will be in a hard spot this year, and just do the best you can to even just be there for them. Just listening to their stories and getting to know people that you otherwise would not have. I would issue this challenge to every last one of you, including myself. I am no saint, and I've made my share of mistakes, and we all get very heated about things that we agree or disagree with. But I would ask that at least for a little while, at least until New Year's, can we start to put our differences and our disagreements aside? Because again, nothing in the outside world, none of the craziness that's going on right now is going to be settled before New Year's or Christmas. So can we please just set everything aside, and for a little while, can we once again be the human family? Not the Democrats, not the Republicans, not the independents, not the blacks, whites, reds, yellows, Brits, English, Germans, or Australians. Can we just be, for a little while, a human family? That is my plea to you guys, ladies and gentlemen, as Jerry the Dark Wolf, and nothing more. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun is only just begun. We will be back tomorrow night with an all-new episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show. That's right, tomorrow night we're going to talk about Christmas miracles. Make sure you got your box of tissues ready, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas, like I just got done talking about, is a very magical time. And what we're going to hear tomorrow night is the magic manifesting itself in the amazing Christmas miracles that we're going to go over. Then Friday through Sunday, make sure you come back for our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit's Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. This week, again, I've been over there eavesdropping on those old rabbits, and I happen to know what they're going to be talking about. On Friday night, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit's going to be talking about a handmade Christmas. That's right. A lot of us this year have fallen on hard times and can't exactly afford to go to Walmart or whatever other store there is and spend a bunch of money on people that we care about. So why not do the alternative and make something from the heart, right? Make a handmade Christmas gift. So he's going to be going over ideas on Friday night for handmade Christmas gifts that we can all do and give to our friends and family. Also on Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, I happen to know that he has a very, very special announcement coming up, so make sure you tune in that evening for a special announcement from the Rippin' Rabbit Hole team here. Then on Saturday night, he'll be discussing the White Elephant. Actually, it'll be the annual White Elephant Christmas show, that's right, and the Rippin' Rabbits holiday party. A lot of you may not recognize this. I actually had to ask AJ what it was. You have probably heard of this before, and you've probably played this before. You just probably don't recognize it under the name White Elephant. What name would you recognize it under? Well, you're going to have to tune in Saturday night and find out, aren't you? And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to or not, but I can tell you that some people may be walking away with prizes, and one of those lucky people may be you. Make sure you tune in Saturday night and find out what that's all about. Then on Sunday, we're going to be wishing upon a star here on the RippinRabbitHole.com. Mr. AJ the Rippin' Rabbit is going to be discussing Christmas wishes. That's right. For a couple weeks, we've been asking you guys to send in your Christmas wish over the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. Over there at the very bottom, you're going to find a big red record button, and you're going to hit that and record 30 seconds of audio. And we want to know this time, what is your Christmas wish? Make sure you go over there and record that, and it will be put on the air on Sunday night with everyone who has submitted their Christmas wishes this year. Also, he might have in the second half of his show a special guest star. The way I understood it, it was something about a jolly old elf, ladies and gentlemen. I think he might have Santa Claus. That's right. He may have Santa Claus on the show on Sunday night. Make sure you tune in to Sunday night to find out if the old elf is there or not, as well as hearing everybody's wish upon a star. And I would love to hear yours. I'm going to go submit mine here in just a couple minutes. I still haven't done that yet, but I'm going to go over to the RippinRabbitHole.com. Once again, that is RippinRabbitHole.com, and I'm going to submit my Christmas wish for 2020. And while you're over there, ladies and gentlemen, there's all kinds of fun stuff to check out, like our rabbit holes. That's right, check out our groups over there. We have everything from Mandela effect to lucid dreaming to anything you can think of, as well as the Darkwolf's Den Show topics and suggestions. If you've got ideas for future shows, we would love to hear about them. We will definitely keep an eye on that and make sure we get those topics on the air. Also, while you're over the RippinRabbitHole.com, come on over and check out our 24/7 Backstage Lounge. Just click on the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, scroll down about halfway down the page, click the VIP entrance, and away you'll go. You might have to okay your camera and microphone, but you can turn those off the moment you get inside and just join us in chat. And we have a lot of friends back there who do that. So guys, on behalf of Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, the whole team here at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we wish you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and remember, until tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Bye, everybody. Good night. How? Yeah.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is green, she's a sneaky hider. What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hunter.
Hey, congratulations for being one of the last people here. Now, of course, being the first in the broadcast is an honored tradition, but perhaps being the last is as equal to being the first. Did you enjoy this? If you haven't done so already, please thumb up the video and hit the subscribe button and give yourselves a round of applause for being smart enough to be here. The very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
These schedules for you, much like our